So the project has a non-JORC compliant resource estimate of around 620,000 tons of copper, which would be about $5 billion worth of copper in today's using today's pricing, and 52,000 ounces of gold. So that's around 150 million plus dollars.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Ippolito Cattaneo. He is the CEO of Ajax Resources. And it's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hello, Steve. Great to see you.
Yeah, excited to learn a bit more about what's going on at the company. I know it's been very busy for you. For those not familiar with Ajax Resources, tell me a little bit about the company.
Sure. So Ajax Resources is a UK listed company. We created the company in 2021 and we listed it in April 2022 as a cash shell or a SPAC, as would be known in North American investment communities. And we raised 1.2 million pounds when we listed on the main market of the London Stock Exchange. And fast forward 3 years, during which we've been looking at a number of opportunities and projects across three different continents, so Europe, Africa, and South America. We've identified a deal that ticks all the boxes. We were, our strategy since inception was to identify a mature project, a project with historical production, which could generate revenue in the near term. And so we've acquired and completed the acquisition of a gold and copper project named the Eureka Project in Argentina from another London-listed company called Ajax Resources PLC.
Yeah, so that's got 12 licenses within it. It was last operating back in the 80s, in fact. So, what was it that you saw that you thought this was really something you wanted to get you sink your teeth into as a company?
So the Eureka, so we historical records indicate that production has been ongoing from Eureka, beginning from Incan times, so a very long time ago. Then during the 16th and 17th century, there was production under the stewardship of the Jesuits, who were very active in that part of the world. And then in the 20th century, there was, as you mentioned, there was production during the latter half of the 20th century, and then that interrupted. Bezan acquired the project in 2010 for a consideration which was between cash and shares, was actually almost $8 million worth. They then renegotiated that deal in 2012 by accelerating the schedule of payments to $2.6 million cash. And unfortunately for them, since 2012, since acquiring the project, there was some changes at Bezant. Argentina also during the period wasn't perhaps the most attractive jurisdiction because there was political and financial instability. Then in 2020 we had COVID, and so long story short, the project was never developed by Bezant, and they sold it to us just recently, earlier last month in May, late May, for $170,000. So the 12 licenses comprising the Eureka project.
Yeah.
So the project has a non-JORC compliant resource estimate of around 620,000 tons of copper, which would be about $5 billion worth of copper in today's using today's pricing, and 52,000 ounces of gold. So that's around 150 million plus dollars of gold. So our goal, having acquired the project, will be to do what Bezant wanted to do and never did, and what the project needs, which is to develop the project, drill the project, and come back to the market with a mineral resource estimate in accordance with JORC that can really give those numbers that I've just recited, a concrete basis.
And because of that historical data that you're talking about and that non-compliant report, does that give you a really good idea of where you want to drill and what you're looking at specifically? That you don't have to, it's not really exploration much anymore. It's more sort of getting to the next stage. Is that fair to say?
Well, yes. I mean, technically, it's an advanced exploration project, so we have to stick to these very specific, the terminology would has to be adhered to, but it is. It is an advanced project. We know it. The mineralization is there. It's just assessing the mineralization and doing that according to the standards and standards that the JORC sets. So that's the process we have to follow. in 2010, Besant commissioned a valuation report, which was carried out by Edison Research, which is a very well-known research house in the UK and worldwide. And they at the time valued the project up to $81 million. So that was using gold and copper pricing then. We know that gold and copper prices have increased very substantially since 2010. Those numbers would most likely be very different today. And so we have a lot of confidence in now finally drilling and doing the work the project needs in order to get a report that we can include in our company's valuation.
Yeah. And that work is planned for this year. Is that the idea?
That's correct. So we're now doing all the necessary permitting and environmental impact studies and all the local all the local legal formalities that we need to follow. But we intend to drill as soon as or later this year, specifically October. So we in the current climate, we really want to get going as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And last thing I want to ask you about, I was reading on researching the company that you're also looking for heading on to the Aquis Stock Exchange. Tell me a bit about that part for the company.
So yeah, we listed in 2022 on the main market, but the UK capital markets world changed quite dramatically in 2021 with a new minimum market capitalization requirement of 30 million or above. So we were able to list under the old rules, but when it came to our first acquisition, we had to satisfy the new rules. So we didn't want to give the company a valuation of 30 million at this point. We want to get to the 30 million and above that, well beyond that, organically by way of delivering news and creating shareholder value. So we had to leave the main market, which is a good market, and we've joined Aquis, which is ideally suited for small, high growth listed companies such as Ajax. And so we're moving there. We're going to be listing later this month on Aquis. Our entire share capital is going to be admitted on that exchange. We are raising, in conjunction with our admission to Aquis, we are raising up to £1.5 million. And so that is funding that will enable us to fully carry out all the work necessary to get that mineral resource estimate in accordance with JORC. And so that is, the board is committed to put 15%, at least 15% of that 1.5 will be coming from the board. The board is a very significant shareholder in the company. I'm the largest shareholder of currently 22% of the company, and board and family have about 40% of the company today, and we're looking to maintain that because we really believe in the value and potential of Eureka, as well as other projects we're looking at, because we've just actually announced the conditional acquisition of Minas La Escondida, which is a project contiguous to Eureka. And so we've increased the mining rights by roughly about 30%. So when I cited those numbers previously in terms of the resource potential, we're looking to achieve a 30% increase in those numbers in accordance with JORC, because the mineralization and the geology is identical. So we're very, very confident about our progress and what we've done in Argentina, and we're very excited about the future.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a very, very busy year for sure. Great to see you, and continued success, and we look forward to following your story, okay?
Thank you, Steve.
All right, there is Ippolito Cattaneo. He is the CEO of Ajax Resources.